Hello, I decided to make this video to explain the key stats that you should be aiming to improve and maintain on Mercy, as well as how they work together so that you are playing Mercy to her maximum potential. Now I've just switched from console to PC, so I'm not quite where I want to be yet in the SR department until I've spent some more time grinding competitive, but I'm just going to roll PC footage throughout this video anyways. To get started, here's the first key stat for Mercy. Healing per 10 minutes. Since Mercy is a healer, this is obviously a very important stat to be looking at. Generally speaking, with most healers, you want to have at least 1,000 healing for every minute each game you play runs. Now, I'm not doing any math, but this ends up being around 10k healing per 10 minutes, which is what you want to aim for this stat. Now, this does depend on other things, of course, such as how much you're damage boosting or who your other healer is. If you have a high output healer like Moira, Ana, or Baptiste alongside you, generally speaking, you will have way more time to damage boost, thus lowering your healing stat overall. In this situation, this is not a bad thing. If you have under 8 or 9,000 healing per 10 minutes, there are a number of factors that could be contributing to this. You are damage boosting while the other healer does the majority of the healing. You are dying too much. You are focusing only on 1 or 2 teammates that need healing, or otherwise not prioritizing healing efficiently. Try and take the next few games you play to identify if it's any of these reasons. If it's the first one, then it actually isn't much of a problem unless your other healer isn't doing much healing and it's causing you to lose games, though you should make sure you don't let the stat get too low. It's still very important to heal. If it's the second one, then positioning is a good thing to focus on, and I will actually get into this in a little bit. If it's the third one, then it's important to ensure you know at all times where your teammates are and what their health is at. It's a lot to take on, and it can be overwhelming at times, but it's Mercy's job. It also is helpful in case you need to fly to someone in a pinch to get away. There will be a lot of times where everyone will need healing all at once. It's best to prioritize who is most likely to die first. Whoever your other support is healing at the time also makes a difference. Everything is situational in this game, and it's hard to make a judgment call until you're in a specific scenario. Try not to let anyone die, obviously, which means not everyone will be healed completely to full health right away. Keeping your teammates alive at even minuscule amounts of health while you swap targets is better than having one full health ally while the rest are dead. Now on to the second key stat. Damage amplified per 10 minutes. Damage boosting is key to Mercy's kit and makes her viable support, especially in higher elos over other supports who are seen as having more utility. You want this number to be as high as possible. Aim for your damage amplified per 10 minutes statistic to be at least 1500, and anything over 2000 is great. If your damage amplified per 10 minutes is under 1000, it's possible you may be overhealing teammates or focusing on damage boosting the wrong targets at the wrong times. It takes a lot of time and practice to learn that sort of game sense, but the more you play with damage boosting in mind, the better you will get. If you look at the top 500 Mercy player statistics, you will notice that they generally have a lower healing per 10 minutes stat, which is usually because they spend a good chunk of the game damage boosting their DPS to secure picks. As mentioned previously, if you are healing alongside a Moira, Ana, or Baptiste, you will have much more opportunity to damage boost and support the DPS while they keep the tanks up. If your team doesn't need healing, you should always be damage boosting. Even if your team does need healing, sometimes the situation requires you to continue damage boosting to finish off the enemy who is killing your teammate, at which point you can heal them up. If the other team is doing small amounts of chip damage to yours, try and let the other healer do the topping up so that you can stay damage boosting your DPS or tanks as much as possible. Try focusing your damage boost on your teammates who are doing the most damage, not just a single person the whole game. Whether that be your Reinhardt swinging his hammer into their team, your Zarya who is pushing forward at max energy, your Ashe taking shots to break the enemy shield, or your Soldier 76 who is using his tactical visor. If you're pocketing or healing someone who has limited ammo and needs to reload, try focusing on damage boosting when they're shooting, even if they have lost a bit of health, and then healing when they're reloading. Obviously, this can be situational. I mean, if they're about to die, you probably should switch to healing. It's really a judgment call, but every second you are amplifying someone's damage helps the team. And finally, the last stat. Deaths per 10 minutes. This stat is important for all heroes, really, because it ultimately reflects how well you position yourself and how many mistakes you make. Of course, as Mercy, sometimes you die because you lost a team fight or whatever else beyond your control, but otherwise, this is a really good window into your positioning. As a general rule, you want to stay under 5 deaths per 10 minutes. Anything over 5 means you likely have some areas on your positioning that you can work on. Lowering your deaths per 10 minutes stat can be achieved by recognizing and correcting the following. Stay behind cover where possible. Don't go for aggressive or risky reses unless you have accurately assessed the dangers and the situation. Track and anticipate enemy ults and position yourself accordingly. At all times, you should be aware of what heroes are on the enemy team and if where you are currently standing is easy for them to either get to you or hit you. Never stand completely still as Mercy, always make sure you're doing some kind of movement, especially if they have a sniper. You never quite know when someone is looking at you, and moving around a little bit makes you harder to hit. Know where your teammates are at all times as well, so you have an escape route when you need it most. The more you die in a game, especially if you're first on your team to die in a team fight, the more likely it is that your team will fall apart and you will lose the fight, or even the game from lack of healing. Try to be the last one alive on your team. Make your own game out of it if you have to. The longer you are alive with your team, the more likely you are to win the fight. There are, of course, situations in which dying can be better than staying alive to avoid staggering, such as you are the last alive on your team and you can't get out safely and quickly. It's best to just let them kill you or throw yourself off the edge. Try and recognize when a team fight is for sure a loss so that you can stop healing your few remaining teammates left and retreat to your respawning teammates. By stopping healing output during a guaranteed lost team fight, you are denying the enemy team ult charge, which is beneficial to your team in the end. Now, I bet a lot of people are thinking, why isn't win rate on this list? But in my opinion, it's not a make or break stat when it comes to playing Mercy. Of course you want a high win rate, but sometimes the loss just isn't your fault. Even when you do everything right in a game, there are other factors that could have lost that game for you. I'm not saying losses are never Mercy's fault, don't get me wrong. You should always look back and reevaluate how you played and identify any mistakes you may have made so that you can work to not make those same mistakes again. I'm just saying that I personally do not think that win rate accurately sums up how well a specific Mercy plays compared to the 3 stats that I have gone over. I also want to state while these stats are important, you definitely shouldn't lose games over them. I'm putting emphasis on these 3 statistics in order to help you possibly identify areas you can work on improving. Knowing about these stats allows you to have goals to reach to become a better player overall. If you have to touch the point and die in order for a game to go into overtime, you might as well go for it. Do not prioritize your stats over possibly stretching for that win in overtime. In each section, I went over some things to help recognize mistakes and improve stats, but if you want more extensive guides on playing Mercy from someone a little more reputable than me, I highly recommend looking through Nyandra's GM Mercy Guides playlist on YouTube. If you have anything you feel different about from what I've covered in this video, let me know in the comments. I'm interested in hearing pretty much any of it. Otherwise, I hope this video helps you find any possible areas to improve with Mercy and help you climb. Thanks for watching.